Hello everyone, welcome back to the stream. Today, once again, we're on LMU, as we have been a lot recently. And yeah, we're here for the final round of the versus US series. In the Cadillac once more, maybe we'll have a final Caddy moment, maybe we'll get through this race cleanly. I partly doubt that. This Cadillac, it's a tricky one, Interlagos. There's a lot of low speed braking zones, and they're the difficult ones when it comes to hypercars. Welcome. Yeah, they're the difficult ones because they're the ones, you don't have the downforce, and so you very easily snatch a tire, lock a tire, and very commonly it will be the rear tire that you lock, which is effectively like pulling the handbrake, and we mostly know how that ends. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. So it is. Going to be quite difficult. The technicality of Interlagos does also mean that as qualifying's going to come to a start here, let's make our way out. But yeah, the technicality here at Interlagos means that scraping the barrier there on the inside. It's actually possible to fuel save and make it to the end of the race without pit stop, much like our opening two races. Well, more like our opening race at Barcelona, where we had to fuel save quite a bit there. Coda, we were able to go flat out. Didn't even need 100% fuel. We could take it easy. We started with a few liters less fuel, so we did. Here we will need to save. So we will. I'm honestly not sure how much. It's quite a bit, but it's not excessive. At least I personally wouldn't call it excessive. That's a line. But, yeah, I mean, those people that don't like fuel saving, they're not going to have fun with this race, but that's a them issue. As we try and get our tires warmed up here at Interlagos, sun quite low in the sky, fairly late in the day. 22 degrees ambient, 26 degrees track temp. And it's going to take a few laps to get these tires up to temperature. So starting to get some temp into the tires now, but we're still a couple of laps away before we can start properly pushing. expecting to see times in the 124s, by the way, for qualifying here. Maybe even a 123. But yeah, we're still a few seconds off the times that we're expecting to see this session. As the tyres continue to come up to temperature. Wheels starting to spin up there, trying to put the power down. Car sliding around rather than going forward. Got all our tyres above 60 degrees. I mean, still won't get them a little warmer, but we can, in a way, start to push now. Braking just before the 50 board into T1. We can maybe push that a little bit more when the tyres are fully up to temperature. Try and open up turn 2. It's important to get a good exit here. So you're flat out through long left-hander for turn 3 out of the Senna S's. Find yourself down towards turn 4. Gonna be braking just before the orange board on the right hand side of the circuit. Was maybe a little too loose, run a bit wide. Down third gear and then try and power your way up towards through turn 5 to turn 6 and 7. Curve the car in, you can take a couple of different lines here, so track crest and then you're immediately into the braking zone for turn 8. Short swerve throttle into turn 9, long left-hander, just go be patient, try and pick up throttle as early as you can, use the curb on the exit to open up steering wheel, then braking for turn 10 immediately, try not to lock the front right like I did there, get the car turned in, one try and good exit, try and open up long left-hander for turn 11 as well, it's not quite flat out, and then pick your braking point for turn 12, very important corner to get a good exit because you're flat out all the way to T1 from here, was an alright exit. Definitely could have been better. And from now, for the rest of the session, for as much fuel as we have, we go flat out. Searching for quality times. Don't damage the tires, because if I just feel, yeah, that'll do. Yeah, they still have temp in them. Wouldn't have time to go through up the full warming up process. Yeah, just snatching the rears, trying to get the car slowed down without having to brake really early. And I didn't hold the brakes there because, okay, I don't care about the car getting damaged. We fixed that now. But I don't want to kill the tyres, because I want to use them again. So here we go again then. Car did not feel like it was slowing down or had the grip. What you're probably noticing is I'm struggling with braking zones. And that's because during practice I was fuel saving, so lifting and coasting into the big ones. Try and get good traction out turn 12. It seems impossible at the moment. I had a really bad turn 1 and 2 last lap, so yeah, finding plenty of time there. Wasn't a great turn 3 either. The car in this default setup that we're locked to in this series, a bit understeering some of the corners. Oh, come on. A lot of time thrown away there at the end. Apex in there somewhere. Yeah, that braking zone. I'm just struggling too much. I've not got enough practice without fuel saving into it to know exactly what I can get away with. That's annoying. I'm so annoyed about that moment I turned 12. Just the car's understeering on entry, trying to put the power down, and the rear's just snapping out. Yeah, horrible balance through there. Yeah, Dave's gone on to improve a little bit more. Ford's looking very good in GT3. Also damaged one of the tires. So if there was time, and even if we had the... Yeah, if we had the time, we'd have to use new tires. At that point, there is no point trying to get them up to temperature. But yeah, one lap pace is one thing this race. race pace is going to be very different. It's going to be about fuel saving. I have a couple of numbers depending on how many laps this race will be. Yeah, looks like we'll be starting P3. I'll take that. I mean, there's only 6 in the hypercar class. 11, well, looks like maybe 9 GT3s have turned up. So, yeah, a bit lower numbers, unfortunately, but yeah, is what it is. Just waiting for some GT3s to finish some final laps. Then we should be getting going for qualifying.
Teams and drivers go to the grid for a race start.
So on the grid, we're going for the inside for T1 on the second row. We're going to try and settle into fuel saving very early this race, so we are. You know, every lap you don't feel safe, you know, you just leave yourself more fuel to save later on in the race. So if you can start early, it's generally beneficial. As we wait for the start formation to begin.
Formation lap has started.
Time is 5 o'clock in game, so we might see a sunset. It's certainly going to get darker. Track temp is probably going to drop from the 24 degrees it's starting currently. That's a little bit cooler than it was in qualifying. Certainly cooler than it was in the practice session. Waiting for the start then.
Green flag, green flag.
nearly got done around the outside T1, but they went so wide, were so tight into T2 that, yeah, just compromised them. Fight for the lead up in front. Ooh, car behind missed their braking point, so did the Porsche behind them. Dave, that's taken the lead in the other Cadillac, nearly missed a braking point. You can tell there's patience going on with Ben in front. Pretty sure he's lifting. Of course, with the mistakes we had behind us, we've already got gap to the cars behind. I think I released the brake a little too early there, but I'm just sort of scared of locking up. Tires are still on the kill side. Looks like Dave's going flat out. Ben's ran a bit wide through T1 this lap. Front tire's still coming in, feeding the understeer through T1. Don't know if it's the cooler track conditions that might also be exaggerating the understeer compared to practice. Damn, might be getting into the fuel saving now. Oh, as we take fastest lap of the race. I was not expecting that. idea, very deep into T1. Ben's gone for the cutback. It's round the outside of turn 3. He's got it done. With how much I've been struggling with turn 12, I think it's going to be difficult to make overtakes. Best opportunity is, of course, into T1. But for that, you know, you need to be close enough for the slipstream. And have a good run. But per exit, T12 kind of gives you neither of those. Ben is lifting much earlier than I am into T4. Throw me off a bit. Quite gaps opened up to the Porsche Hypercar behind us. Fuskin in 5th. They've really dropped off. Thank you, GT3. for making that easy for us. And the dirty air is quite bad. Through turn 11. Thought GT3 was, or I didn't expect the GT3 to get quite as good of a run there as it did. I compromised too much on the entry and lost out too much there to do anything on the exit. Hopefully can get a couple of GT3s on the straight here. Did not get the car turned in well there for T1. Hoping that coverage was going to move to the right hand side a little bit sooner. Open the gap up a little bit sooner, make it easy. They didn't. Too much curb there. Tyler's also dropped back in the other Cadillac. Either way, that's us through the field of GT3 traffic for the first time. Very close times between the top three last lap. I think Ben in the lead is over-saving. I think I'm adjusting my fan speed. It's a little bit annoying at the moment. So this will probably be the rest of the race to the end. My left eye is watering because of the fan. That's it, turned down a little bit. Hopefully that helps. Oh, great T1, just braked a little too late. Had to carry the speed into the corner. We're closing up on Dave. We've closed about maybe half a second in the last 2 laps. So this is where we start to get into the dirty air. That does make it much more difficult to follow. 20-second gap to the car behind, or over 20 seconds. Div is struggling with the braking zone into T1. I think we are just putting... I think he is feeling a little bit of pressure, perhaps. That was right on the limit for the braking. Usually GT3s complain about understeering there, but trying to follow Dave through past that GT3 give me a lot of understeer. And got me a bit worried. Dave went for a real set there. LTR on the throttle there. Oh, Dave's lost the rear end into T1. That's a shame. That's a real shame. Yeah, it wasn't like an intense battle, but it was just a subtle battle, going on. I mean, it's not over yet. Of course, we could technically make a mistake ourselves. Was not confident that the space was going to be left there. Did not feel like a good place to try and go around the outside. Or good timing to go around the outside, should I say. Awkward little moment. Not much can be done. You have to be careful with the rears around here, as you can see. They do wear out quite a bit. Mercedes lets us have the racing line. Very kind of them. Made it clear, which is nice too. Just as starting to consider, is the outside viable here? They darted to the outside. It's like, well, that makes that easy. Of course, despite the fact that, we're not following Dave now, just stay concentrated. So easy to make a mistake in these cars if you lose focus, as we've seen over this season, really. They're very unforgiving, very punishing. So if we want to keep this race clean, it is full focus every single corner. Fight for P4 looks like it's on. Tyler's cut onto the back of Fuskin. Nice understeer there. You have to be careful about track limits around Interlagos. You can't start picking them up quite easy. Exit of turn 3 is one place. Exit of turn 4 is another place. Oh, yeah, just blocked the rear. As I said, it can happen. Thankfully, that's a very slow speed section, so we get away with it. But the barriers are quite close, you know, so we very nearly did tap the wall, if not give it the slightest of brushes. There is a slight flat spot now, but it's very slight, shouldn't be a problem. Obviously, that does allow Dave to close back up. Now only 4.5 seconds back. Might find some GT3s once again. Thank you, GT3. Very kind of you. So we're definitely can make it to the end of the race if it's 42 laps, which it's looking like at the moment. If it does go to 43, perchance we're not far off. We're not far off. Quite a few of the GT3s in front of us now, as well as the Hypercar for us to put a lap on. Give the GT3s there in a bit of a battle, as much room as we can. Two more cars to go. GT3s, that is. Then I believe we'll catch the pack one more time this race. Might get to the tail end of the pack a second time, just before the end. Oh, Dan Tomlinson ran wide there. Might forgo the lead of the race with that mistake. Don't know if he just got distracted as we were passing him. Two reasons why I didn't pull back to the racing line there after getting past. One, I was going to be lifting into the braking zone, so I wasn't entirely sure if I was going to be clearing him. Two, if I did and just pulled over back across his nose, he's then braking into my slipstream, into the dirty air. He's got his braking performance, and it very well could, you know, make him run into the back of me. You know, and also because I'm then not braking on the racing line, I'm going to have to brake a little bit earlier because there's going to be less grip. Well, GT3 being a bit unpredictable there. Not sure, you know, sort of what side to go for them, you know, which side of the track they were gonna keep the car on. Also opened the gap up to Dave quite a bit. He seems to be struggling a bit at the moment. Gap's now nearly 11 seconds. Yeah, Dave still has the pace, as we can see from that last lap. But maybe just struggling with consistency, maybe struggling with lapped cars. Oh, race seems to be very close to a 43rd lap now. Dave has a little more energy than me. Which, if this does go to a 43rd lap, yeah, I'll absolutely be able to save the energy to complete the lap. But Dave is going to be, you know, quicker than I am if I don't, you know, save a bit of energy between now and then. We're not far off would be a target for 43rd lap though from here. You know, so it's no big concern. I just don't have to be doing massive saving on the final lap if I'm not expecting it. And Ben has definitely saved the energy to go an extra lap flat out. That's a weird moment. Yeah, the gap between me and Dave is just kind of ebbing and flowing. Apex in there somewhere, Mustang. I was a little bit scared I was going to overshoot the corner there, and then got a little bit scared when I shifted down first. That sort of felt like the rear end got settled a little bit. And yeah, it's going to go into a spin like what Dave had. Apex in there somewhere. Ten minutes of the race left to go. Bit of a messy lap, this one. Mercedes just sort of holding a wide line there. Sort of indicating that they want me to pass on the inside. Nice and clear, appreciate it. Still got a battle for P4 here between these two Mustangs, I believe it is. That Mustang's clever. Ooh, that got a little sketchy. But great awareness there from Mustang. Very kind too. They were like, right, you're going to want to pass here on the inside for this upcoming right-hander. I'm going to leave you that space, you know, from the earliest point they could. You know, compared to the other Mustang, which was really late to move over. Oh, one of them. Someone's into the pits. I don't know what strategy is like for GT3. I don't know if once a no-stop race is viable, how viable it is for them. Fight for the lead. Might not be the fight for the lead. One of them peels into the pits. I was just going to say that might not be the fight for the lead if they're both needing to make a pit stop. And one of, maybe the two Mustangs that are fighting, it was over 4th and 5th. Maybe one of them doesn't need, one or both of them don't need to pit. They can stay out, no stop this race, and perhaps find themselves taking victory this evening. Car started to rotate there on throttle. Tyler's still trying to chase down Fuskin. Has a couple percent more energy, so Tyler definitely wants this to go to a 43 lap race. Because they have the energy for it. Fuskin is very tight for it. But the closer we get to the end here, the more it's looking like a 42 lap race. Yeah, with the GT3s pitting, we'll actually catch them in extra time. Good move there by the Mustang, just making it clear that they're going to be on the left and we should pass on the right. That Mercedes slowed down to the S3 before this long left-hander. They're at the back of the field, so it doesn't make much difference to them. And easier just to have the pass out of the way rather than in the middle of the corner, where it can be a bit difficult to know which way exactly you want to go. So, you know, that's fine from them, you know, good safety. We have fuel if we continue the current saving trajectory to get to the end of a 43 lap race, if it happens. Of course, that's still an if at this stage. No, I don't think there will be a 43rd lap. New personal best lap of the race. Just trying to make sure we have the, the fastest lap of the caddies this race, or if anyone else but Ben in front is another way to put it. Very early turn into turn 6 there. Rear just started to slip there. I think that Mercedes is running out of fuel. This will be the final lap of the race. Don't need to fuel save, but I'm going to do so anyway, because like that, the first time I just didn't feel safe as much into T1 there as I have been doing the last few laps and almost overshot the corner. Time's ran out. Ben's crossed the line to finish the race. The Mercedes is not going to make it. And there we go, there's P2. Quite comfortably in the end. Aw, Dave just went half a tenth quicker than our personal best on the final lap. Darn you, Dave. How were the tires at the end of that? About 55, 56, 57. 66 on the front left. Yeah, it just doesn't get used as much. I think I definitely felt that in some of the slower right-handers, turn 8 and 10, for example, the car was actually turning in quite nicely into those corners compared to the sort of little bit of understeer as again through the left-handers. I think that's partly why it's again sort of a little bit of a snap of oversteer, like trying to put the power down out of here, because, you know, the front tire was still turning the car nicely, the rears were dropping off a bit more. But yeah, as I said earlier, it's a shame the race didn't. It's a shame Dave made that mistake, because that would have been quite interesting to the end. So it would have been. Yeah, we of course had our own mistake. But yeah, didn't lose as much time, and even after that mistake, we opened the gap another 10 seconds. I don't know if Dave had another mistake or if he was just struggling for consistency, because, you know, his pace still wasn't bad, but yeah, the consistency he struggled with. But yeah, my room is getting quite warm. I could literally notice when, you know, my left hand is just sort of in the airstream of my fan, so it's quite nice until I turn right and have it sort of this point just above my wheelbase. At this point, I can feel it's not in the airstream anymore. It's actually quite warm in my room. Yeah, quite warm. So, yeah, that was good fun. Nice to have a mostly clean race. But yeah, we'll take P2 to end off. That's not bad. Anyway, thank you everyone that came in and lurked throughout the stream and are watching the VOD back. Hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, we will be back next week for a one-off LMU race on Thursday. Yeah, a GTE race, a special GTE race. I'm not going to say much more than that at the moment, but yeah, it should be special, should be interesting. It should be different and unique compared to all the races, like all the races we've had on LMU so far. So yeah, should be quite good. But yeah, yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Hopefully, I'll see you next week. If not, yeah, have a good week. Have a good weekend first. Have a good start to your week next week. And yeah, till then, take care. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.